once we get everyone set, we'll get into questions for Coach.
This is kind of another unique challenge for you guys in the sense that you've kind of achieved all this success, and now you have maybe teams that don't have the same name on the front of their jersey coming up. How has the approach been with just being able to stay the course and not get too high?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty easy, to be honest with you, to keep these guys focused with what happened a couple years ago in this exact same game, in the exact same scenario, having a week off and then facing a good North Dakota team that had us down 14 in the second half. And, we found a way to bounce back and get a win at the end. I think we won the game by 8. And believe me, we're talking a lot about that going into this one. That the getaway game is always a dangerous one. And, I dealt with it in the NBA with All-Star break. And it's human nature. You look forward to having a few days off and getting an opportunity to spend time with your family. But you have to stay focused and go out and take care of business before your little, semi-vacation starts. So, for our guys, they've been really good in practice. They bounced back with good effort. And we get another chance to see North Dakota tonight. They play obviously a very good Winthrop team. And then we'll make our final adjustments and hopefully get 2 more good days of prep heading into the later game, which I kind of like it. I think the last couple of years we played early going into it, and then guys are trying to scramble and make sure they can still get out that same day. But, most of them will be forced, unless they're driving, to stay overnight and then get out of here on Monday. So, again, I'm confident this is a different group, and we'll be ready.
What's Oogie's outlook looking like? I know this is kind of a target day for you guys.
Yeah, Oogie was back on the floor today. He did 2 live drills, and he did everything non-contact. So tomorrow was an off day for Oogie. That's how we scheduled this week. He did individual workouts. He got to the Illinois game 3 hours prior and got a good workout with Coach Monahan and responded well to it. It was good to have him out there today. He's obviously very rusty, and he's got to, get back to understanding the concepts on both ends of the floor. We've added a lot on both ends, but hopefully get him back on the practice floor Saturday, and then we'll make the decision if he's ready to go or not.
What does that picture look like? I mean, I know immediately he's got to ease his way back into it, but what can he do in this lineup that's clicking pretty well right now?
Yeah, the thing with Oogie, he's got size and he's got skill. I mean, he can really shoot the ball. That's one thing that I liked his release. I liked his shot as we were studying him when he got into the portal, but he's got a beautiful stroke. So he adds floor spacing at the front line. He can play the 4 and the 5. We've been getting him reps at both spots. And defensively, he gives us another force to help us on the glass. That's the one thing. When you look back at that Illinois game, they got almost 40% of their misses back, and you're playing with fire if you allow that to happen. Obviously, we had a couple guys that really got it going offensively, but if you're allowing a team to get back 40% of their shots, it's generally not going to end well. So we've been doing a lot of live rebounding this week. Practice has been very physical, and again, we need to finish this thing out the right way.
How beneficial is it that you guys had earlier in the year that 3-game stretch against Kansas State, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and you sort of know what type of energy you need in those 2 games after, like you're going to have coming with you?
Yeah, you can't get – and believe me, we talk to our guys. We show them film. We show them, the great Hall of Fame coaches talking about not letting your guys get comfortable and complacent. And if you do, you're going to get stung. And, we had a couple games earlier this year where we didn't come out of the gate very well, and they were at home. Wisconsin, Creighton, we were unbelievable early in those games. You set the tone, and generally you finish out those games well when you get off to good starts on your home floor. And, it sounds like we're going to have a great crowd on Sunday, and, we appreciate all the energy that they have brought to us. And when you look at Creighton and Wisconsin, those are 2 absolutely incredible atmospheres, and that helped us. That played a factor in us getting off to great starts.
It was the second time this season, last 20 seconds of the game, drawn a play that put the ball in Sam's hands. What has he done to earn that trust?
Well, Boswell wasn't guarding him for one, so that helped us make that decision. And he made a good read. We talked about in the huddle about going off a price and then setting a flare, but I thought he made a really good read and coming off a rink on that play. And it is a choice. And Sam's got a really good IQ, obviously, and he's made really solid decisions most of the year. And he had a couple good options on that. Jared actually slashed in, and he was supposed to slash if he went the other way. So, to get in there and collapsed the defense. Obviously, they stayed at home on Price, so that's where I thought Sam had a good read, is when they got underneath Price and he knew they couldn't get the switch, and then made a good kick out to Jamarcus, and he took it from there. But yeah, it's a lot will depend on the matchup, and Kansas State, I think, was the other one where made the handoff to Price. They both jumped, and that gave him that lane to the basket to get the offensive rebound.
After he took that hit to the head on Saturday, I think he didn't play the last 7-8 minutes. Was that more so just what Jared was providing, or was there something?
Yeah, no, it was all because of Jared. I thought Jared gave us great minutes. He was very aggressive, obviously, on the offensive end. He had a couple great takes to the basket. Got the big offensive rebound on Sam's play where he missed it, and got himself to the free throw line and stepped up and made both free throws. So it had all to do with Jared. Yeah, Burke, I thought, gave us really good minutes in that game, but I thought Jared was phenomenal for us offensively in those last 5 minutes of the game.
Price's scoring and what he did earlier in that game, but was his impact as the game went on with the attention that he commanded from Illinois' defense just as valuable down the stretch?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and that's what this team has done. They've done a really good job of taking what the defense gives us, and with them essentially taking Price out of the game. I thought he had some really good curls to the basket. He had a great back cut, which opened up Rink to hit a three on the left wing right there in front of the bench. And, he's just got so much gravity, obviously, with having 26 points and a half. And then he didn't force things. And sometimes you do that. He actually had a couple really good looks. His most open shot of the game, I think, he missed it. But, his cutting and movement opened up things for everybody. And that's a testament. That's a sign of a great player. When you're not scoring the ball, you have an impact in other ways. And, Price was huge for us, even though he only had, 6 points, I guess, in the second half.
You mentioned Coach Monahan. Now that you have 11 games under your belt with him, what have you noticed from Pat?
Yeah, Pat, he's unbelievable. Every day after practice, I'll get an email with notes. We'll meet and go over with Coach Ziegler. Offensive, a lot of things on the offensive end, concepts, and he's just got a really good attention to detail. He's first guy in the office, last guy to leave every day, and he just puts so much time into it. But connections, he's already helped us get some guys here to Nebraska, and he's got us. I guess I can't talk about a couple of them, but yeah, he's really well connected, and that's obviously a big part of his job. What we were looking for is just somebody that's really well rounded. He's been the guy that's been in charge of Oogie's workouts, individual workouts, and he's just a really good ball coach. He lives it. He lives it, and you just love having guys like that on your staff.
Saturday was kind of the decision for Oogie's availability against North Dakota. If for some reason he doesn't respond immediately, has there been any talk about a potential red shirt with him, or is there a cutoff point to where you want to have a decision one way or the other?
Yeah, we'll get to that. I think we do have the target date, which the last game he could play would be the Indiana game. After that, I don't think he would be eligible for a red shirt, or for a medical. So we'll like I said, tomorrow's a big day. See how he's doing, how he responded to full live practice, and then Saturday will be another important day. And then, once he does get out there for game action, whether it's North Dakota, whether it's New Hampshire, it's going to be very important to see how his body responds. And then, and talking to Oogie and everybody that's associated with him and his family, we'll make that decision.
But if he's healthy,
if he's healthy, yeah, he'll play. Yep.
More than 60% of your field goals this year have been assisted. What do you attribute that to?
Again, it's just the way these guys are built. It's having Rink on the floor. He was our leading assist guy 2 years ago, and if our guys, they're figuring out the nuances within the offense. It took us a little while to get there, I think, but when they cut, when they move, when we play with pace, when we play to the next action, if they war us and chase us on the screens, that's where I thought our offense was really good the other day. I thought the pace that we played with, it started with Jamarcus. He played off 2 feet. He got in the lane. He kicked the ball out. Our efficiency is so much higher when we get paint touches. And just our overall movement, I thought it was really, really good. And we're getting there. We're doing a lot of drills in practice to simulate, teams chasing us and being aggressive with us. And I think we're starting to figure it out.
Do you have any overall thoughts on a couple of teams in the league adding mid-year transfers? And is that something you have conversations with your staff about exploring?
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to look to improve our roster. I like where we are right now with this team. So, unless we feel that they could absolutely come in and be a difference maker, we're not going to go that direction. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a weird time. I know I say that pretty much every time I'm in front of you guys, but it's just a really unique time in our game.
Is there a word or phrase that best describes this team so far this year?
I think unselfish. And, we come in the locker room every game. We talk about being the hardest working, most connected team on the floor. And for the most part, I think our guys have accomplished that.
It's not just you guys having a ton of success. The women's team's having a lot of success right now, too. Just what is it like being involved in the culture process?
Yeah, it's great. What is there, 3 teams left, I think, that have undefeated men's and women's teams. And it's great. I've talked a lot about Amy. I know I talked about her when we were doing the press conference, whatever it was, last week, the week before. But I'm a huge fan of how she runs her program. And, I'll stop in there and watch some of her practice. We used their gym today as they were off, as we split into our stations. And, it's really nice to have a great relationship. I had the same thing with Bill Finley at Iowa State, and he's been there for 100 years. So the success and learning from him as I was new in the profession. But yeah, Amy's a great resource for me, and I just love their team. She's doing a phenomenal job.
How is this team handling, I guess, all the national recognition you're getting, especially given the nature of the last win?
I'm trying to make sure they're not looking at it, but they're human, and those phones are right here. Whose phone is this? Cheers. Okay. So, yeah, but listen, they're I think doing a pretty good job, because all I can tell is how they prepare and how they practice, and I don't think it affects them once they get in between those lines, and that's what it's all about. I'm glad they're getting some recognition. I certainly don't want to discount what they've accomplished to this point, but we got a long way to go. Coach Lender said this in our meeting. I thought it was spot on. We signed up for a marathon, and we just finished a 10K. If we're satisfied now, we got no chance. So, we're going to keep grinding them. Keep going out there looking for ways to improve, because we're going to have to. If we want to continue on this path, we're going to have to become a better team all across the board.
Cinematic recaps that Sam does and them guys do. It seems like every time you celebrate in the locker room, there's a player immediately saying, "All right, next up." How you talk about the coaching staff trying to keep guys defensive, but is that kind of an issue where it has to be the players setting the tone?
Yeah, it does. And again, we've got age, we've got experience, you've got guys that have been in the NCAA tournament, and that's where we want to get back, and we want to continue on this path and accomplish something that's never been done in this program before. We've done it already with the streak, and we've got a long ways to go. And we talk about that. Are you satisfied? And everybody to a man says no. And that's a great sign. When you have leadership like that in your locker room, a lot of times it's ranked, but when he says it, you can see everybody else nodding their head. And Jamarcus got the shower, and then we talked about it. I was the Debbie Downer of the group, saying we got to move past it, but we did. And again, it's been a good week of prep so far.
More pressing issues this week, but did you get to hear Developers call on Marcus's call?
Yeah, like 100 times. I thought that was great. I just love it for Kent. He's so passionate. He's one of the guys you want to do this thing for, just because of what he's meant to this program. And now he's on all over TV. You can't watch a commercial without Kent being on there. So, yeah, he's certainly living the life right now.
North Dakota. What jumps out about them specifically?
They're really good defensively in forcing turnovers, and they're incredibly active. They trap ball screens. They do very similar to what we do on the post, but they're more aggressive out of it. They really get out and deny, and they're 19th in the nation in turning teams over. So we're going to have to be really good on that end. They run great stuff. I'm a big fan of Paul. Good friends with him, and known him for since we got into this thing, and I just think the world of him and the job that he does. So yeah, it's a good team. It's a sound basketball team. They're playing a lot more aggressive than they did, I guess, a couple years ago, and is paying off for them on the defensive end with their turnover rate.
Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry,
All right. 13-15.
Electrolyte slushy.
Strawberry, cherry,
Blood orange. Yeah. Pretty good.
Once you're ready, we'll have the questions for Sam.
think, Sam, your dad talked a lot about just keeping a level head with the success you guys are having and now facing some opponents that might not have the more impressive name on the front of the jersey. How have you seen this group kind of turn the page from what last week was to kind of a more unique challenge ahead over these next two?
Yeah, I think we've done a good job of it. We have a really mature group with me, Rank, Jamar, Kale, all of us. We've had a lot of experience, and that you can't look ahead in this league, in this game at all. So when you're playing a team like North Dakota, they may not on paper look like a tough opponent, but 2 years ago we were down 14 points, I believe, in the second half, and almost threw that one away. So I know we are going to be ready for them, and we're not looking forward to Christmas already just because it's a bye game right before it, and we're going to have the game has all of our attention 100%.
What do you think has allowed you to kind of make the jump into the more complete offensive player this season?
Definitely confidence. It's been a huge mental thing for me, and I've kind of been in a role where last few years it's been to just keep the ball moving. Didn't have a high usage rate, so it was hard to score at times, but I was fine with that. I bought into my role, and this year we moved the ball really well, and it gets around to me, and I've been able to make plays. But honestly, having like Charlie around, he's been huge for my confidence, and I've worked a lot on my mental game. I've meditated like the last 45 days, which was something I used to do when I was in a slump, and it helped pull me out, and then I would kind of stop when I was at a good point. But now I've kind of accumulated it and kept doing it, and it's led to me playing some of the best basketball of my career. So a big part is the mental game. Having Charlie there to build me up, but also working on it myself has allowed me to unlock a higher level of offensive game.
What's your meditation routine?
So I just do like 10 minutes of guided meditation on the Calm app. I've met with Dr. Bree over at the stadium, and she's been really helpful. But I've just been more consistent with it, 10 minutes every day, and then I'll do it twice on game days, and it's been really helpful for me. It's just called Returning to Now. That's what I've been doing lately.
What kind of things does Charlie do to help?
He just is there to remind me that he's seen me at my best. It's kind of funny. Like the best I've probably ever shot the ball was the alumni tournament for Pius after my freshman year of being here. I made like 13 threes in the first game or something and had 49 points, I think. But he's seen me shoot it at a really high level, which I haven't really even shown that much this year. I'm shooting it better, but I think there's another level of, at least with my shot, that I can get to, and that's confidence is where that's going to come from. And maybe I end up doing that here, maybe I don't. But he just always reminds me that I can get to a higher level, and I haven't like maxed out my ability. So just kind of, he gives me those reminders because I can be really tough on myself at times, and he just makes sure I stay positive.
This page that mentioned that you guys are undefeated since Charlie's joined the staff. Is he the secret sauce for you guys?
He might be. He's helped me unlock a new level, so maybe he is.
What can you guys take away from those two games you played after Kansas City and Oklahoma, and maybe the lack of energy you guys had in those, and like you guys need to do better in this two-game stretch after that?
Yeah, I've talked about this. You look back 2 years ago, we had a really good team. It was more similar to this year. And our wake-up call games were the Creighton game where we lost by 30 and the game versus Minnesota where we let up a 18-point lead. And I think those two games were kind of wake-up calls for us. And we happened to win them, which was nice, but we did not play up to our best ability. And I think we've done a good job of learning from those games. So I think just maintaining the standard that we've had since those games, it's not necessarily you're like, look what happened in those games. Like, we can't let that happen again. It's more like we have to maintain the same standard we've had this month, which has allowed us to play better basketball.
I'm sure you saw, maybe heard Coach Underwood's comments about you after the game. What does that mean to you to get that kind of level of respect from a really good coach?
Yeah, I think it's so cool to hear those things from opposing coaches. I don't, get all the stats, and I don't do the glorious things in games. So just seeing that other coaches appreciate what I do and they know that it is helpful and I've never really thought that they didn't think that or anything, but it is cool to hear them, talking to the press about it, and maybe showing some of the fans that are yelling at me about how terrible I am that, hey, your coach actually thinks I'm pretty good. But yeah, it is. It's a good thing to hear.
Are you? Oh, go ahead.
Does that help your confidence too?
Yeah, I think it does. I've done a really good job of just staying level. I'm not like riding this confidence wave, and I had a bad game against Upstate, and I think I like locked back in on my mental stuff, and that allowed me to get back to this kind of level that's been working for me for games. So I try not to take too much confidence from what other people say, but it definitely does give me a little bit.
As a point guard, you probably see it as well as anybody, but just with Price, obviously he's scoring, he's a threat, but in the second half against Illinois, the gravity that he drew from Illinois' defense and how much that opens things up for everybody else, how critical is that? Just obviously you get this production from him, but then just the attention that he draws that teams have to pay, otherwise they'll torch him. Like, what does that do for your guys' offense?
Well, I mean, you feel it as a defender when you're playing a guy that you just know you can't give any inch of space or that thing's going in. Everyone on the floor knows where he's at, and if you let him get any space, guys are going to stunt towards him to try to not let him get a shot. So, I mean, one example is when Jamar slashed on a play where Price ran a go screen on me. I think it was Hummercow stunted at Price because he had gotten a little bit open, and Jamar slashed for a wide open layup. Like, having guys like Price and Rank who can get really hot and where the defense is so focused on them allows guys like me and Jamarcus to get easy baskets. So it's huge. And even games, I think last year, like Connor, he would have some of the higher plus minus when he didn't score much just because the teams were so worried about him. So it's so important to have guys like that on your team.
How much are you enjoying podcast life since you started that?
It's been fun. So I want to get into like TV stuff when I'm done playing basketball, and I just really want to get stuff on tape. I'm not necessarily trying to go viral on a podcast, but the guy I do it with is getting into broadcasting. So just having stuff on a tape reel you can send into companies when you're trying to get work, like that's really the reason we're doing it. It's been fun.
Being around Nebraska basketball right now, where it's not just you guys having a ton of success, the women's team is having a lot of success right now too.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're pretty close with the women's team too, and I think, that camaraderie and chemistry, it contributes to success, not just with your team, but if you have both teams rooting each other and feeling like happy for each other and it's genuine, I think that goes a long way, and they're killing it right now. It's super fun to see, and I mean, we got to keep it up.
Sam?
Thanks, guys.
I was wondering.
Once you're ready, we'll open for questions for Price.
How has just the focus been? I mean, going after the week that you guys had last week with the big names that you had to play to playing these last 2 bye games, just to keep from getting too high. How's the mentality been this week?
Yeah, it's been really good. Coaches have really emphasized it. It's easy to kind of come off that high and dip down in effort and some other things. But we've been really locked in. We've had some good practices, and we're just getting ready for Sunday.
After a long emotional week with 3 huge games, it's finals week. This week, just how have you handled all of that?
Yeah, luckily for me, I haven't had too bad of a schedule. I know some of our guys have, so balancing that is, I think everybody's been doing a good job, and hopefully everybody's been doing good on their finals. So,
Coach was saying there's a chance Oogie could join the lineup this weekend. I know he's got some rust to shake off, but when he's healthy, what can he do for your offense, and what kind of weapon would he be when he's full go?
Yeah, well, immediately when he gets on the floor, he's a threat. He can shoot it, drive it, pass it. He can do all those things. So he's going to immediately bring that, and then his defense as well will help us out. So got to see him practice today for the first time in a long time. So it's good to see him out there.
When you're in a losing streak, it's kind of hard to focus and get back on track. Now that you're on such a great winning streak, how do you stay focused? What do you tell your teammates to just keep grinding and keep it going?
Yeah, a winning streak like this is pretty special, and like I said, it's super important to not get complacent and have those just kind of dull practices where you think you're too good to do those basic things that we've been doing since the summer. So staying at it and just taking one game at a time. Just look towards that next game, that next day, that next practice. Give it all every day is what we need to do.
You were on this team last year, but how much has last year's North Dakota game been a talking point?
Yeah, they brought it up for sure. I think this team's gave us some trouble in the past, so super locked in on them. It's been an emphasis point. So.
What sticks out about this North Dakota team?
Yeah, they do a lot of similar stuff to what we do. So we've been guarding a lot of our our stuff that we do offensively and defensively. We just started doing them today, so we'll get some more in tomorrow and Saturday.
You have a start that you did against Illinois. I mean, obviously you're commanding a lot of attention. I know they put a lot of effort and focus on you defensively in the second half.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that? And then just even when you're not touching the ball, the impact that you can have by drawing attention away from your teammates?
Yeah. Like I said, nobody really cares about who gets the credit on this team. It's one of the most selfless teams I've ever been on. If they're sending 2 at me, I'll happily just move the ball or space out or even just stay in the corner and not let a guy help off the corner so we can get Sam, Jamarcus, anybody downhill to make those plays. So I'm good with if they want to guard me like that, just everybody else can get better looks.
You said selfless. Coach said to pick one word to describe his team. He said unselfish.
Yeah.
How critical is that to get the season to where you want to get it when you don't have egos, when you have guys that are all on the same page, all about the same thing?
Yeah. I think that's been our main reason for success. There's a ton of things that go into it, but the unselfishness of this team is truly special. You can see everybody on the court cheering each other on. Everybody wants to see each other succeed, and I feel like that's pretty rare at this level, honestly. So it's been great playing with it, and I think that's what's really gotten us out to such a great start.
Have you ever been around, even high school, AAU, any in Iowa, a team like that, a mature group that's pretty?
Yeah, I don't know if it's been this good, honestly. It's pretty great to be in a system like that, be in a program and a culture like that. It's been awesome.
Mr. Price.
Yes, guys.